It came out through a Freedom of Information Act request that over the last decade, a growing number of American cities and states that have restricted the information local law enforcement departments are exchanging with immigration because of being a sanctuary city has been that ICE has found a loophole to get that information about people who are in detention. Now, what sanctuary cities are is that two things, Jonathan.
Okay.
Because we don't want this to, because the article or what's coming out in the news is saying that these sanctuary cities don't do anything with ICE. ICE had to now go hire private companies to give them information about people who have committed crimes in sanctuary cities and try to arrest them for deportation. A sanctuary city, the purpose of the sanctuary city is this. We don't want people in sanctuary cities, don't want people who are out of status to be scared to use government services. For example, a government service that you would want to use is 911. Mm-hmm. There's a fire. We want to call in a fire before the whole block burns down. Well, if you're undocumented and you're scared you're going to call 911 to report a fire, that you're going to come and get arrested by ICE, you're not going to want to do that. It's the same thing with calling the police. You know, if you witness a crime, the police want you to contact them. Mm-hmm. Another thing with sanctuary cities is that a lot of immigrants have been in the United States for long periods of time. Sometimes people have a bad night. Sometimes they get a bad night. They get into a fight with a relative.
Right.
They get a DUI. That, because you have a bad night, doesn't mean you should now be thrown out of the country for the rest of your life and be separate your family from yourself.
I agree.
So what they do in sanctuary cities is people who are arrested for minor offenses, misdemeanors, small offenses, they're not calling ICE on them. People who are arrested for serious felonies, violent crimes,
those are the ones.
Those are the ones. There's even in a sanctuary city, you're still getting ICE is getting called in. But what ICE has been doing now is because on these minor offenses, they have now hired private companies who give them information about people who are arrested for minor offenses and are now finding these people, looking for them for deportation, even though the jurisdiction where the person was arrested is not coordinating with ICE. For example, in Colorado, they passed a version of the sanctuary law in 2019. All the laws are a little different state by state, but generally that's what it is. Okay? Your government's not going to call immigration on you if you call for a government service, and the government's not going to call immigration on you if you get arrested for a small petty offense. Now, before Colorado passed its version of a sanctuary law in 2019, local law enforcement regularly shared information like probation schedules with ICE or granted requests to hold migrants the federal agency was interested in. And getting picked up by ICE in the middle of probation appointments was not uncommon. I had that happen as in my practice of law all the time. I would always advise clients, hey, you're going to your probation. You may not walk out of that probation appointment. Right. ICE might be waiting there for you. And usually it was at the end of probation they would always call ICE.
Wow.
Now, after the law was passed in Colorado, the share of detainer requests, that's when local law enforcement holds somebody to hand them over to ICE. They were refused by Colorado before the law 19% of the time, but by 2020, almost 30% of the time. So now ICE is using private companies like LexisNexis, which is what we use at our law firm.
Yeah.
They're basically used by lawyers at big law libraries and databases. They're paying LexisNexis $17 million for real-time access to every court case and criminal case in every jurisdiction.
Oh, wow.
Because that's what LexisNexis does. It tells you what court cases are up. Mm-hmm. So when somebody comes and says, hey, do I have a court case? We look it up in LexisNexis or Westlaw or one of those other things. Now, we don't pay them $17 million. I don't know why the government's paying them $17 million.
That's
a lot.
Yeah.
But that's what they're doing right now. So even though, the point being is that even though you're in a sanctuary city and the local law enforcement is not sharing that information with ICE, doesn't mean ICE doesn't know about it. That's the point of the whole thing. Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.